but there were stuff I held some shame around and embarrassment. And then when I hit rock bottom, at one point, I just remember going, screw it. Like, I already have people who don't like me. I already have people who are judging me. And then all of a sudden, I saw the response, and it was helping people feel less alone. And then of course, that makes you go, well, this is a better way to live. I don't have to keep secrets and be inauthentic. And it's actually helping people. Like, people are going to judge me regardless. So sure, I'll be candid about my life.
Welcome to the podcast that helps speakers and writers like you grow their impact and income. This is Stage, Page, and Screen. Kristina, when I think about you, two words come to mind: wit and candor.
Well, that's
now,
nice.
I want to talk about the second piece of it.
Okay.
There's a lot of candor that you present in your videos, in your books, in your speeches. Is that something that comes naturally to you? Is that something you've had to kind of slowly develop? Is that a Croatian thing? Like, how do you think about the candor side of how you deliver information?
I think it's a mix of all of those things. I mean, you brought up Croatia. That's where I was born and raised. Definitely very blunt, candid people. But I think for me, the real messy stuff I share sort of came out of a rebellious side. Like, I was willing to go a certain amount, right? I was willing to be authentic and be blunt and candid about a certain chunk. I think we all kind of have that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we appear very like, oh, they're so open and authentic. Mm-hmm. But there were stuff I held some shame around and embarrassment. And then when I hit rock bottom, at one point, I just remember going, screw it. Like, I already have people who don't like me. I already have people who are judging me. This is me. Take it. It was almost like being a rebellious teenager, except way later in my life. And then all of a sudden, I saw the response, and it was helping people feel less alone. And then of course, that makes you go, well, this is a better way to live. I don't have to keep secrets and be inauthentic. And it's actually helping people. Like, people are going to judge me regardless. So sure, I'll be candid about my life.
Why do you think it is some sort of maybe speakers, authors, content creators hold back on their candor?
I mean, when you say candor, do you mean just like, let's show how messy humanity is and how imperfect we are?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like your stuff is thoughtful, but in some ways it's not calculated.
Oh, I don't have time for calculations. I don't do math, Josh.
Sure.
So I think that I don't want to speak for everyone, but from my experience and from speaking with my community, I feel like a lot of people are raised, whether it's by family or society or wherever, to worry what people will think, right? By the way, the whole what will people think? Personally, I think that's one of the most abusive things that we do to ourselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we could just get rid of that, man, would we feel like we're more free and at peace, right? So when we grow up with that, and there's this standard of how we're supposed to look or behave or sound and how smart you are and how this, it's like there's a constant pressure to be perfect. And so we start believing that in order to be liked or approved of, we have to be perfect. And I definitely fell into that years ago. And then I realized what actually makes me likable, what actually makes people come back and want to have a relationship with me, whether it's in my personal life with friendships or whether it's, through my books or speaking or whatever, is the fact that I'm not perfect. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's actually the most beautiful part of every human being, is that messy, complicated stuff, right? That we hide because we think you have to be perfect in order to be lovable. And by the way, same goes for my public career, right? Like, I have never given a perfect speech. I have never written a perfect book. I've never done a perfect comedy show. And none of it has hurt my career. As long as I am not pretending it was perfect or feeling like I have to defend it or make excuses for it, and just own that I am human. That's what I am. I'm a human.
What do you think about this idea? I think about when you and I sort of first met, first connected, and you were sort of earlier on in this stuff, say a decade ago. I feel like a decade ago, the idea of people being sort of vulnerable, candid was less of a thing. And so by you doing that, not only was it something that you thought was healthy and appropriate and something you wanted to do just for yourself, but also candidness as a strategy kind of helped you break through because everyone else was trying to be robotic and perfect, and I'm a perfect mom or a perfect, comedian or influencer or whatever. And now it seems like vulnerability is almost the default. And I think we would both probably debate, well, are you doing that for the good of others? Are you doing that just for yourself? Should you first go to therapy and then share it online? But has that idea of how the landscape has changed around vulnerability, is that something you think about, or you go, look, I can't control that, so let me just be me? And yes, sometimes what I do will be kind of unusual and unorthodox, and sometimes it will maybe blend in because more people are doing it.
Yeah. See, the only thing I'm an expert at is just being me. And sometimes I even suck at that. So I sort of stay in my own lane. I try not to put too much focus on what other people are doing, or what's the trend, or what will people think, or will this work, or will this get enough views? I mean, have I gotten sucked into it? Because again, human, yes, but I really work hard at staying away from that. So like you mentioned, when I started, social media was still semi-new. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I started, I didn't have social media. I was posting on YouTube. And then social media, I was like, I guess everyone's doing social media.
I remember you were mailing letters to each follower. That's what I recall.
Yes. Yeah.
It was costly and of both time and postage, but it worth it.
I kept mine.
Good. Lots of stamps and all. No. But I remember making these funny videos that were supposed to make parents feel less alone. And it was just all funny, right? And then because of that, I started getting comments from people saying, hey, I'm really struggling and you made me laugh and you really helped me. I'm going through this. I'm going through divorce, whatever. And I just remember reading these comments and going, man, all these people are struggling and they just know that I'm being funny. They don't even know what I've been through. So I shot this very vulnerable video. I did in my car because my 3 kids were being loud, as children are. And so I went into the driveway and I sat in my car and I shot this video where I opened up about going through a divorce and being really depressed and being on food stamps, and something that my therapist helped me with. And I sent it to a friend who's actually a producer I live in LA. And I said, hey, I'm thinking of posting this. It's very different from the funny videos. What do you think? And he said, absolutely not. Do not post this. It is way too vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. You're not going to like the reaction from some people. B, you are known as the funny mom. Like, stay in your lane. It's working for you. And it took me about maybe a week. And I was like, screw it. I'm following my gut on this. And I posted it. And that's what actually led to a small career becoming like a full-time career, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what people wanted. And yes, now there's a lot of it out there and people are a lot more open. And did I get hate, by the way? Oh my gosh, daily. I still get hate daily, right? But people were so craving just somebody who was willing to not be perfect and say, man, motherhood is hard and life is hard and I've struggled financially. I've gone through a divorce and I've had really dark thoughts. Like, I just remember comment after comment was saying, wait, we're allowed to admit this out loud? Like, you just said what's in my head. And I think, once I sort of took that leap against this professional's advice, right, and followed my gut, since then, it's all just sort of been so much easier. Like, this is who I am. Some people will like me. Some people won't. But I came up with a mission. I'm giving you a really long answer. Sorry to your question.
No, it's I love it. It's interesting. Keep going.
I came up with a mission statement. And I think it was right around that time in my career, like when it was just starting to take off. And I wanted a mission statement for my career. And it was, I didn't even think of it as a mission statement then, but it eventually became that. And I said, okay, I want to be for others what I needed when I was at my lowest. And even now, decade or however long later, it is what drives everything, whether it's my writing, whether it's speaking, whether it's a silly little video that just makes someone laugh or something really deep and vulnerable. I want to be for others what I needed when I was at my lowest. And that has sort of helped me stay centered to not worry about, ooh, that person's being vulnerable and people don't trust it. Should I not be vulnerable with that person? Just I got my own thing going, and that's what I'm gonna focus on.
Yes. I often wonder how you think about that tension of sort of being a hybrid athlete. In one way, you're sort of this entertainer, comedian. In other ways, you're this role model and teacher. Like, how do you balance and think about that tension for yourself? Because I imagine outside voices would be like, hey, more of the comedy stuff, more of that. That's the path. And some people would be like, look, you should be writing more books. You should be doing more speaking, more teaching. That's the path. How do you balance that tension for yourself?
I mean, this is why I was with, I'm not going to name them, but I was with one of the biggest, best agencies in LA, and I left. And then I left and went to another one. And then I left that one. And this is exactly why. Because
you went to, I know you were with the big one, and then you left that one and went to another big one?
Yeah. We'll talk later. Yeah. And left that place. And it really came down to my own sanity. Because you're right. And at one of those, I had 9 agents. I had a team of agents, right? And you have all these people who really, let's be honest, I mean, very nice people, but they don't genuinely care about me as a human being. They care about the money, right? And there's all this pressure of like, this video didn't do as well, but that one did. So you should do more videos like that. Or, it was just constant. I mean, constant. And I fell into it and I started believing it. And I started trying to play the game because they know what they're doing. And you know what? It flopped because I wasn't doing what felt right to me. So as far as the balance, there really isn't this formula or balance for me. I share what's happening in my life. So when something funny happens in my life, or I find a funny moment with my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, I bet people can relate to that. I always think I'm not the only one. And I share that. And then, the past, 6 years or so, my son really struggled. My oldest son, he's 21 now. But when he was 14, I found out that he was suicidal. And we went through this long path of just trying to keep him alive and trying to, find the best support. And I have a rule with my family where I will not share anything about them publicly without their full permission. So you won't even see a family picture on social media because usually there's at least one person that's like, nope, like nothing. I will not tell you what they ate for lunch, nothing. And so my audience didn't know, right? So that's a perfect example of a time in my life where I'm going through hell. I'm barely sleeping. I had to call the cops on my kid at one point. He was hospitalized. I mean, it was a lot, right? And then I got 2 other kids who are being affected by all of this because his depression often came out as rage. Anyway, I'm going through all this and my audience does not know. And basically, I just wanted to quit everything, right? But you know what? Life gets even more expensive when your kid is struggling. And so I had to keep working. And so I literally would post whatever felt good to me. What is something I needed to hear at that time? And I didn't share about my son, but I shared about motherhood being really heartbreaking sometimes without having to tell the details of the story, right? Or sometimes I just needed to laugh and something made me laugh. And I was like, okay, I know that there's another mother that's just trying to keep her kid alive or struggling through who knows what, that just needs a laugh right now. So if it made me laugh, this thought I had, maybe it'll make them laugh. And so I'd make a video. And so that's sort of been the way I work. Is I always think I'm not the only one. So whether it's that I need encouragement today, somebody else needs it. Whether it's that I need a good laugh about something completely stupid and silly about life, somebody else probably needs it too. So there's not, and in fact, if you look at my content, you won't see like, oh, she posts 3 funny videos a week and then 2 serious ones. It's all over the place because it's a representation of whatever is happening with me and whatever I'm needing.
I want to go back to sort of some lessons learned from the big agency experience.
Okay.
Most of the folks that listen to these conversations are speakers, authors, content creators themselves. And I do recall kind of the pros and cons of the big agency you were looking to sign with. We're being vague here on purpose, but there are only a handful of them out there, okay? I remember us having a pro and con. I don't remember many things from the lunch, but that was one of the pieces of that lunch that I recall. because there was a time where I was signed to a big agency, and I recall kind of looking back going, I feel like, even though, smart people, mostly well-intended, but I also felt like I allowed it to capitalize on my own ego and insecurity in the bigness, you're going to have 6 or 7 people around you. We're going to surround you with a team, everything, and then you can say to someone, well, I'm represented by this agency who also represents Oprah and Tom Cruise. So therefore this thing I was doing that you thought was idiotic and a waste of time, see, now it's justified. So all that to set up, if you were now having lunch with someone who was sort of on the rise, and they were like, hey, amazing, one of these big agencies approached me, how would you kind of sober-mindedly say, look, here are the good things about working with a big agency, but don't get it twisted. Like, here are some of the things that it's not.
I mean, I would start with just asking a million questions. And the main one being, what is your intention? What is the goal? And you got to be honest with yourself. If the, temptation of all of this is, ooh, I have this name behind me, it's not a good reason, right? Which we all fall into that. Oh my God, especially, and I mean, I grew up as the most insecure kid you ever met. And I didn't get, we could go into whole childhood trauma thing. But anyway, my point is, like, somebody important thinking that I'm good enough. Oh gosh. Yeah. Give me some of that. Like, that sounds amazing. So I think you really have to be honest with yourself of what is your intention and goal. And also be very realistic about the fact that they're all throwing promises. It's like talking to a politician, right?
Yeah.
They're going to make your life perfect, and the groceries will be free, and like everything's just going to be perfect. Okay. That's what they're probably going to tell you in a lot of those meetings.
Yes.
And so I'm not going to tell someone whether to sign or not. That's up to them, with the big agency. But I just think you gotta go in real honest. And I think it's really hard to be honest with yourself when someone's dangling something real shiny and pretty at you. And then also, fine, sign up. You don't have to, like, I never signed a contract where I had to be married to this agency for a certain amount of time. Know when to walk away. Because, sometimes it's hard to walk away from something really great and big because who am I? Like, little old me is going to make a decision to leave something that big. And then you're worried about what will happen later. There's a reason they called you in the first place. Right. You were already doing something great.
Correct.
And also I would say, as much as it's cliche to say these days, but prioritize your mental health, because for me, it became a really unhealthy environment. It was nothing was enough. I mean, at one point I had Will Ferrell. His team reached out to me. Will Ferrell thinks you're funny. Thank you. I'm done. Like, that's all I need. Put that on my tombstone. Right.
Yeah,
that's all
sure.
I need, right?
Yeah.
And basically hired me to do a certain some videos for them and go to this comedy festival and blah, 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 blah. The response to that was, oh my gosh, what's next? Oh my gosh, how do we, it's like, and what I realized is every time I had an opportunity with any kind of cool opportunity, it was never, let's just sit in this and realize how amazing this is. Where you came from, Kristina, having nothing. Like, this is amazing. No, it was always, okay, what's next? Now that we got this. And so it keeps you feeling like you are never good enough. Nothing you achieve is good enough, because we're always chasing the more and better and different and, bigger. And that just was really unhealthy for me. So now, even when something great happens, my husband knows, because we had this big talk about it, to not go, wait, could this lead to? No, we're not having that. We're not talking about what this could lead to. We are enjoying this right now, because if nothing else happens, this is more than good enough.
Yeah. And the truth is, if you don't enjoy it, and if you don't pause and go, how can I absolutely over deliver their expectation of this phenomenal, flattering opportunity, then because of that very reason, nothing else will be after it, because you didn't make the most of that one.
Yep.
What does your if you don't mind being specific, because again, the sort of people that are listening to this, what does your current support system look like? So you're no longer kind of, have that infrastructure of a big agency. Are you guys now doing stuff in-house? Maybe you got like an assistant who will kind of field stuff and then run the serious things by you. And then you go back to them and say, let's, say yes to these 3 things, no to these 7. What does your kind of current support system look like?
So I do have a litter agent who is amazing. And I actually had her before I even signed with the big agency. And that was like a big thing of like, well, we want to represent you in all areas, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she's great. And so my book deals, any book stuff comes through her, right? And then I do currently have an agent that books only my comedy tour. I don't have a speaking agent. I don't have a talent agent. Right? But just my comedy shows. Otherwise, I have someone who helps handle my emails. And with videos, I have a production team. And other than that, it's just me. And sometimes that gets really overwhelming. I know I could have more work because I'm not actually pitching myself, right? So I don't have an agent pitching me for speaking gigs or whatever. But so far, enough has come to me without having to, have someone pitch that it's been okay. Now, could I be making, crazy amount of money more than I am if I had someone pitching me? Yes. But again, I also want to stay sane and I don't want to live with constant pressure. And I'm also very realistic of the fact that I'm not always going to have speaking gigs that just come to me. I know that a lot of it happened through my videos and books and all that. I'm realistic that it's not going to last forever. And I'm realistic that I might need a manager or an agent in the future to help me with that. And I'm open to all of that. So I always think like, what is working today for me? Mm-hmm. I don't have to make a decision for the rest of my life. What is working today? And I'm going to do that. And if tomorrow something different happens and I need to take a different avenue, I will do that. But I would not go with another big agency.
Let's talk about the speaking engagements. I know since the last time we talked, that was kind of something you've been taking on a bit more. Maybe let's start specific and then we'll go a bit broader. Talk to me about the question that you always ask conference organizers. I'm very intrigued by this.
Okay, so the first thing I will ask is, what does your audience need to hear? Or another way I'll word it is, what would your audience find most helpful? Like I want when people walk away from hearing me speak, I want them to take something. And so if they're just going, they're like, oh, that was funny, or that was interesting. To me, that's not a sign of a really successful speech. For me, everyone's got to define what that is for them. I want them to actually walk away with something, whether it's encouragement or a great proactive tip or whatever, right? Or just feeling less alone. I mean, that's simple, right? Just feeling less alone. And so I always ask that, especially because it's been really weird, the range of speaking engagements I've received. So it used to start just with mom conferences. And then as my son publicly opened up about his mental health, and we talked about that and wrote a book together about that, mental health conferences. Recently, I spoke at the FBI. I thought it was a spam email. I'm like, why is the FBI call?
Why the FBI is contacting you. Don't lie to me.
That was my first thought. I was
right.
I'm a legal immigrant. Okay. I actually got my citizenship.
That's right.
I did steal toilet paper once when I was a single mom as a waitress but it was from the restaurant I worked at and I did confess. Anyway, so that's a whole nother story.
It's time to pay that off. It is time to pay your debt to society, Kristina.
I should have showed up to the FBI with a roll of toilet paper.
You should.
But anyway, so especially when it's like, feels very, out of my norm. Yes. When I got on that call with the FBI people, which I actually showered for and dressed up. Like I was like, I'm going to be legit for that. I'm going to shave both my ankles for this one.
Are we not normally showering pre-other events? Yes or no?
No, we are. This was just for the Zoom meeting though.
Oh, okay. I see.
Dude, Josh, I'm wearing sweatpants right now.
No, sure. No, listen. I didn't
I'm
shower
showering
for
after
you.
this
no,
interview.
I didn't shower
for you. Well, good.
No,
good.
It's fine. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter.
No, I showered for the FBI meeting, for the Zoom. They couldn't even smell me.
Oh, sure.
And I showered.
Here we go.
Anyway, but I just thought, why is FBI asking me to, like, what? And so again, just like I always do, that was the first question I asked. And it's interesting. It's always, not always, it's 90% of the time the same answer. Everyone's going through a lot and they just need to feel better, right? And be empowered. But it's those tiny little details they'll add in different events that make you go, ooh, I know what I want to focus on.
Yes.
And then it just, I don't know. I feel like the speeches at that point almost write themselves.
Yes. May I share 3 questions I always ask that I think you'll find interesting?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Question number 1, in no particular order, I always ask, tell me about the time I said, I don't need the name of the speaker, but tell me about the time you had great hope for a speaker that you hired and were underwhelmed. Like, why were you underwhelmed?
I love that.
I often find the way that they'll explain why a speaker who they thought was going to be awesome didn't necessarily hit with their audience gives me more kind of intel to their, like insight to their audience than like, we had so-and-so and they were phenomenal and so-and-so and they were phenomenal. So that's one question I find quite helpful. The second is, what term do your people use when they're casually referring to themselves? Particularly with like these mental health events and these sorts of things. And you and I have actually spoken on like different days of some of these type of events. Sometimes these folks will have 3-word, super professional terms like child welfare caseworker. It's like, okay, but when they're like referring to each other or they're casually saying, oh, are you also a, like what is that term that they use? And then as I'm talking and trying to contextualize my audience, like I will use that term. I'll say, whether you're a blank or a blank or a blank, here's how this concept can look in your world. So I find that super helpful because
I love that.
As a speaker, they kind of want you to bring your greatest hits. It's not like just write a song off stage and then let's see how it goes. It's like we kind of want the tried and true material, but we want to feel like you tweaked it just a bit just for us. Like we want to hear the live version of the hit song, not just the radio cut.
Yeah.
That's good.
I love that.
And then the third one, this one's nerdy, but I find super helpful. I say, imagine you have 10 coins in front of you.
We're back to math, Josh.
Listen to me. It's just 10.
Wait for the PowerPoint.
It's just 10. You got this, everybody. Okay, so you got 10 coins in front of you. And there are 3 buckets. First bucket is entertaining. First bucket is heartwarming. Third bucket is practical. How many coins in each bucket?
That's good.
I find that super helpful because sometimes I felt like when a thing went like okay, but not phenomenal with the organizer, they were like, oh, you kind of went a little too nerdy and we really just wanted them to like laugh and cry with your story. Or, hey, you kind of spent too much time on like your sappy foster kid story. We wanted to get to the practical stuff of like, how did, your foster parents and your social workers help you through that situation?
That's really good. That's really good. Actually, especially for me, because again, recently, because of my latest book, it's been a lot of mental health conferences. And it's really a variety. Like sometimes it's parents, right? But recently I spoke to a group of, doctors, therapists, like people who actually like work in the industry, right? Or trying to help in the mental health industry. And those are 2 very different audiences.
Yes.
Right? Those are 2 very different speeches. So that's very helpful.
When you've had a speech that you felt like this should have gone great and it just went okay to you, like the audience seemed happy, but to you, you're like, what was that gap?
My overthinking. Pretty much consistently. It's like, I overthought, because overthinking kind of destroys authenticity, right? And that's where I'm my best, is when I completely embrace the authenticity. And when I overthink it, or I let my insecurities lead, which sort of, those 2 play together really well. That's when, regardless of what anybody says, I walk off the stage and I'm like, Urgh! And if I really analyze like what went wrong, it always comes down to that. I can write a billion stuff, but it'll all come down to that.
So when you're overthinking, does that mean you like show up as wooden, like you're a little kind of like not quite yourself, or how does that show up?
I don't think that other people see it. It's more what's going on in my brain of like, it sort of destroys the focus and it makes it a little too sloppy because I'll overthink like, for example, I don't write out my speeches perfectly, right?
Okay.
Like I'm not one of those people who writes out a speech and memorizes it. I'm very much a storyteller through my speaking. So I have stories I'm going to hit, and then I know, those stories.
What do you take on stage with you? Do you have like kind of a bullet pointed list or nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. That terrifies me. Go ahead.
I don't. There was one event, I don't remember how many years ago, where I did bring bullet points because I was nervous, and I can't remember even why I was nervous, but I didn't even look at it because I had because I walk around when I speak.
Yeah. Same thing with a comedy show. No, like set list, no bullet points either.
Usually the first few shows, I'll have like the bullet points of like, this is the next joke. This is the next joke.
Yeah.
And I tape it to the little stool where my water is.
Yep.
And then after a few, I don't, but I find that actually like, it holds me back when I have notes. Because what I'll do is I'll walk over. It's almost like I'm checking if the answer on the test is correct.
Yeah,
and then I notice that,
don't mind me.
Yeah. And then I notice, oh, shoot, I missed that point I wanted to make before. Should I add it now or should I skip it? My mind goes into not staying in the moment. I don't recommend this for everyone. It's just for me, I feel like it throws me off more than helps me. But I have no idea what we were talking about, Josh.
Oh, well, we were talking about, when you're overthinking.
Oh, yes.
You said you're not one of these people that writes out the whole thing.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm on stage and I know I want to tell these stories. I kind of have it in my head, but then I'll overthink like, ooh, should I don't know if I made that point well enough. Maybe I should add this story now to make it's like that kind of stuff that just, no, Kristina, just go up there and talk to them the way you would talk to your friends. I never see myself as like, hi, I'm an expert. I'm going to stand on my pedestal and tell you all everything I know. I always go in, because I'm so open about my, flaws and all that. I always go in it as I'm just talking to people who need the same stuff I need. We're going through the same crap I'm going through, right? And so it's that overthinking or feeling like I have to make a smarter point or make it funny. Like, I guess another word I would use whenever I get into the trap of I need to impress someone, that destroys the speech. Mm-hmm. And thankfully it doesn't happen often because I've accepted that my job is not to impress anyone. I like impressing myself. I think that's a whole nother thing. But my job is not to get anybody else to like love me and worship me or whatever. When my focus is not at all on trying to impress, that's when I do my best. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say insecurities, trying to impress, overthinking, that's all sort of the same, all in the same stew. Not a good stew.
Have there been any gigs that you said yes to, and then sort of afterwards or leading up to it, you kind of kicked yourself? I will admit here that I am, what's the psychological term? I am, this is therapy for me. I'm currently going through one of these. There was this sweet client that somehow like got my direct information. They're like, we don't quite have the budget for you. So I kind of, it's like compelling person, compelling cause. They don't quite got the budget. So I relent on that. And I thought, cool, I'm doing them a favor with like their budget. Mm-hmm. So like, that's me being like a good dude, right? I'm working with the limited budget they have. But then funny enough, it's like not always, but sometimes that type of client also has 32 other requests that will follow the budget thing. And then you go, like, I thought I was being helpful here. And now, oh man, this is, even if you had the full budget, if you would have revealed these other 32 things, I would have said, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
So a bit of projecting here with what I'm the self-inflicted trauma I'm currently going through. But have you ever found yourself in those situations? Is there anything you've learned from that? Anything you've put in place to try to protect yourself from yourself of saying yes to things you shouldn't?
So because I was with the bigger agencies, because I wouldn't even known how much to charge. Like I was
Yeah.
clueless, right?
Yeah.
I would have been like, wait, you'll give me free dinner? Yes, I'll do
Yeah.
it. Right? Is there bread involved? Can I order dessert? Like, so, so thankfully they set a number, and then I just sort of played along with it after. And so this is what I've done basically, because I've definitely been in a lot of situations, especially with parenting and mental health. Like, some of these are nonprofits. So I've sort of had to, I didn't do this right away, but just recently I've sort of had to set for myself, this is how many I'm willing to do a year for less. And I think, or even doing something just pro bono. I've done that. Like, this is going to be my limit. And then I'm not going to feel bad after that. Cause that's a big thing for me, is like, oh my gosh, it's an organization that's so much good. I want to, right. So I give myself permission. And then I really think, if I'm going to have a certain number, then I really think, is this the right place to do that? Like, what if something comes along that, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you got to really sort of look at the details of it, and who's the audience, and do they actually really need somebody? And can I actually bring something? But to be completely honest, the money stuff I hate. Like, that's the one thing that I miss about having an speaking agent, is I hate the money thing. It feels very weird to me. And part of it is that I think there's still like I'm getting paid to, like, I don't have a PhD, like, so I definitely think part of that is like an insecurity thing. And then I think part of it is just I don't even know how to put a value on what, like, I don't even know how that works. Do you know what I mean? It's all, so, yeah, I'm not the right guest on the podcast for that question.
Very well.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
That's right. Well, it's probably good to hear for other people to hear, like, oh, I also struggle with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh gosh, it's awful.
It's not just me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when I first signed with a big agency, and they were like, well, we asked for this much and they don't want to do it. And I was like, what did you ask for? You're crazy. Right. Like, I'll take half that, So I don't know. I think we all need to know our strengths and weaknesses. The money part of it is not my strength. And so thankfully the person who handles my emails is very good at it. So I sort of let her handle it.
Yes.
And I just stick with what I know.
Hi, friends. It's Jesse Rice, co-host and producer of the podcast. Normally, you'd hear from Josh at this point, offering you the opportunity to learn more about how to launch or grow your speaking business or write and publish your book. But since I also edit the podcast, I just cut his part right out. That gives me the opportunity to do the pitching, but from the perspective of someone who is a former student of the program and someone that has benefited tremendously from the wisdom and experience and the countless practical insights that make the Stage, Page, and Screen training program so powerful. Look, Josh isn't paying me to say this. I do it for the community service hours. My point is, and all kidding aside, as one that has truly benefited in massive, life-changing, dream-come-true kind of ways from this content, I can't recommend Stage, Page, and Screen highly enough. And I really mean that. To go and learn more for yourself about making your speaking and writing dreams come true at stagepagescreen.com. That's stagepagescreen.com. Now, back to the show.
Okay, let's talk about lessons learned between your first book and your second book. So I want to first talk about the writing of it, and then I want to talk about sort of the launching of it, the promoting of it. Let's first focus on the writing. What did you realize in writing your second book that you wish you would have known in writing your first?
What do I wish I known first?
Yeah, so here I'm talking about the creative, like the actual structuring, writing, that painful, phenomenal, horrific process.
So while I was writing my first, someone gave me a piece of advice that I didn't take. And when I took it in the second one, it really helped. And it was, decide that the first draft has to suck. Like, just make the decision. It's just going to be bad. And don't try to make it good. Like pretend that's the goal. Like, it has to be bad. And I didn't do that with the first one because, oh my gosh, English is my second language and someone's offering me a book deal and this is crazy. And I got way more money than I was expecting for it. It's a big publisher. Like it was all, I was sucked into all of the pressure and I overthought everything. And because of it, I'm proud of the way the book turned out, but I hated the entire process. I mean, when that first book came out, I swore up and down I would never write another book. I would never do it, ever. And then a couple of years later, ta-da,
so hold on.
one.
At peak bitterness and exhaustion, then you're out there having to promote this thing that almost killed you.
Yeah. I mean, but when it was done, it was like, okay, I'm proud of it.
Yes.
Like, I'm happy with the way it turned out.
Yes.
Happy to promote it. Definitely not going to write another. You know, it was just like, it was a sense of relief and like someone just beat me up and I was still recovering. Like it was worse. I've given birth to 3 children without an epidural. Writing the first book was worse. Okay. Mentally,
I'm going to take your word on this. I'm going to trust you on this.
It was awful. And then, you know, it comes out and it's like, oh, cute little baby. Oh, I got a book. And what I didn't think about is how a lot of mothers then later, they kind of forget about the hell they just went through. They're like, let's get pregnant again. Okay. That was me. That was me with my book. Yes. So I didn't enjoy it at all. And then with the second one, I mean, it was a completely different book. Here's the thing. The first one was really just about me and it was about my struggles and all that. The second one was about my son and it's very personal. He wrote one of the chapters. So you hear from a mom and then you hear directly from the teen and through every chapter, I would just write it and I would write a crappy rough draft, which really helped. And then I would sit down with him and I would go, hey, is this really how you felt? And, you know, because I really wanted it to be authentic, even my chapters to his experience. And I remember just constantly going, we don't need to write this. Like maybe we should leave this story out. And he just kept going, no, write everything. Just write everything, which was terrifying as a mother. Like he might regret this, or maybe he won't be able to get a job in the future. I just talked about his, you know, what he did or whatever. So it was 2 completely different animals. The first one felt a lot of pressure, the outside pressure. And the second one felt very vulnerable and sort of pressure as a mother to protect my child. But back to what I originally said, if anybody's writing a book for the first time or the 7th time, I mean, if you just tell yourself like the homework is like the only way to do the assignment correctly is to make the first draft suck, you're going to write a great book. I really think so because back to overthinking, it kills it. It destroys it.
Mm-hmm.
The second one with your son, did you feel like going through kind of chapter by chapter, was that almost sort of traumatizing, having to kind of dig that stuff back up, relive it, walk through the details? Or was that somehow healing because now there was this newfound perspective that the 2 of you had on everything that had occurred?
It was awful because, and I'm doing much better. I've been in a lot of therapy for this, but even now, and you know, 2 years ago as we were writing, it was more, I was still living in fear. Like he was better, but your anxiety as a parent, you know, doesn't just, boop, oh, he's better. It's, you know, you're waiting. Like every time he would sneeze differently than he normally did, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going back to that dark place. Like, so, you know, so it was awful. And then there was something my therapist said that turned it from traumatic and awful and me hating it to therapeutic. And I was sitting in a therapy session and I said, I had already signed the contract. I'd already started writing the book. I think I was maybe like a third way through the rough draft. And I said to my therapist, I'm going to try and get out of this contract. I don't know if they will let me. It's a big publishing house, blah, blah, blah. But I can't do this because I sit down to write and I'm reliving like the worst, most heart-wrenching, awful, fear-filled days. And why am I putting myself through this right now when we're finally in a better place? And he was still living at home at the time. And so I'm writing this and living in this fear and then seeing him. And then even the way I was interacting with him was affected by that, right? Because all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we go back to that? And so I'm just going on and on to my therapist about all the reasons I can't do this. It's too hard. And oh my gosh, I could cry right now. My therapist looked at me and said, hey, Kristina, you're writing a love story. This is a love story between a mother and her son. And that just made me look at this book completely differently. It wasn't about the agony and it was truly writing a love story. of a mother who loves her son so much and just wants to support him in the best way. That's when it became therapeutic. It was just the simple sentence from my therapist.
That is a beautiful perspective.
And isn't it amazing too for anybody writing? It doesn't have to be a book this heavy or, you know, whatever, but like a simple change in perspective can completely change the way, not just the way you write and all that, but your process, just the practical, logistical process of it, how you approach it. Just what is this book, right? Mm. And this book can be a trauma-filled, awful, reliving the past, or this book can be a love story. And man, that like changed everything.
Very freeing, very freeing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about lessons learned from the launching of a book. We've both launched, released books. You know, there's...
Listener, if you could see her face.
That's right.
There's so much to unpack here.
That's right. Let's freeze. Can we freeze frame that? How does this work?
Of quiet.
Could we have my therapist join this part?
Absolutely. Of course.
Just get them on line 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, bring her in.
Hey, Paul. It's Paul.
Okay, Paul, bring him in. Let's go, Paul. Bring your notes, too. I know when I released my first book, I thought, you know, if I do a great job writing this and I have a good publisher, a good editor, then, boy, folks are just going to be lined up and ready that day to get it in their hands.
Yeah.
What other fallacies did you believe in launching the first one?
I mean, that was a big one because it's Penguin Random House. They're one of the best. It was one of the reasons I signed with them. And I think I just was clueless and naive, you know. I'm telling you right now, I'd probably do a million things differently if I were a third or fourth or whatever. But I sort of found myself relying too much on them in the first one and not enough on my own. Like I already had a big following on social media, but I was barely talking about the book. And then with the second one, I found myself going, well, I don't want to constantly be talking about this because some people don't care. And like just trying to find that balance of like, you know, it's kind of like when you follow someone and you love them and then they start selling a certain lipstick and you're like, I'm so freaking sick of you talking about this lipstick.
Listen, if you want to have that conversation, I'll have that conversation. Okay? it's how I provide for my family, and I'm sick of you giving me a hard time about it.
It's just
Paul, your advice?
It's just the shade, Josh. The shade is wrong on you. I'm just gonna be blunt. It's too.
Everybody has their own color.
He's a summer.
But see, my problem was I think I saw the book, and again, I'm still learning because I feel like I screwed it up the second time too with the whole marketing thing. I saw it more as a product because of the pressure from the publisher to sell, right? It's again, back to the same thing the agents do. I hate the freaking pressure. And I get that it's a business. I get that we have to sort of play along every once in a while, but I just hate it. And so, so because of the pressure to sell, I saw it as a product instead of seeing it as, no, this is mine. This is me. This is a part of me. This is a part of my story. This is why so many people follow me, because I've shared my story. And I think it was that tiny little, you know, thing I had with it, whatever the word is. It was like a little wall basically that sort of stopped me from really marketing it probably the best way it could have been marketed. Now I find when I just tell a story about my son and the book is mentioned in passing, that's usually when the sales, you know, go up because it's just a natural extension, which is not usually what publishers want you to do. They want you to like hold the book up, right? And then they want you to tell you all the, you know, name all the celebrities that endorsed it. And the truth is a mom who's getting up in the middle of the night 12 times to check on her kid to make sure their teenager's still safe and okay in his room. She doesn't care how many celebrities endorsed the book, you know?
Yeah.
So I betrayed myself in the sense of getting away from the authenticity and getting too much into the business, if that makes sense.
100%. Yep. 100%. I've certainly been there with folks we work with. I think my mentality has changed around it in that I used to think, okay, I have a book. I am responsible for selling 1 million copies of this thing. Like that was my mentality. So
No pressure.
How can I go out to the masses that don't know me and convince them to buy this thing? Now I think more so my mentality is, okay, I have a certain audience and my goal is to get like 1,000 from that audience that already knows, likes, and trusts me to some degree. If I can get 1,000 of them to risk their $15, if I can make a compelling, honest case, risk your $15, you're going to be super happy you did. And then to me, that's my sales job. And then like from that, the book will sell itself. If I have, through that year-long process, if I've done the excruciating, painful, beautiful, difficult love story kind of work where this book is a delight, then those 1,000 will reach the next and the next and the next. Because, we both had probably books. There's only a handful of books per year. When I finish reading it, I text my 5 closest friends and say, you would be an idiot not to read this. Or don't even bother buying it, like it's on the way to your house.
Yeah.
And so I go, that's really my responsibility, is to write that kind of book for a certain person that they are going to text their buddies or buy it on their behalf, and then just convince that first 1,000 to buy it. And from there, if I've been responsible and appropriate and diligent in the writing of the book, then the book will sell itself beyond that. That's my mentality. I'm sure there's some naivete in it, but that's my current thinking.
No, I completely agree with you, actually. And I've seen it through, my book sales actually, even with the pre-sale stuff and all that, they count the first week. Yep. Like my book sales with both books actually went up later because of the word of mouth, right? And so I've gotten, Instagram DMs or comments, or I've seen on Amazon reviews or whatever. Well, people are like, I had no idea who this person was. Or, they'll say to me, I didn't know who you were, but my friend knew that I was struggling and with my kid, and she read the book, and so she gave it to me, or whatever. Like, those are probably the most common messages I get. Like, I get more of those than I've been following you for years. I know exactly who you are and I love your book. Sure, I get those, but these are the ones that really stand out, and I feel like are the majority. So it is, I think, word of mouth. I think, if you're an author and you're really proud of I can honestly say I'm so proud of this book, and I know it's already helped people. And so that's the beauty of it, right? Like, you and I will not be here forever, but our books will continue to help someone. And to me, that's just like the most beautiful thing. That's better than any number.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. And that word of mouth sells. You can't marketing trickery your way to that.
Nope.
That is someone risking their reputation and saying to a friend, you got to get this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you think about sort of your tone and delivery in each of these 3 mediums that you're involved in. So you're writing books. That's like a very intimate kind of one-on-one conversation. Videos, I don't know how you think about it. I would argue that's also kind of an intimate one-on-one conversation. Then you have speeches, which is sort of like you're standing up there and there's like 500 people and you can only see the first 100. Mm-hmm. Do you think of those, be it in content or your own delivery or tone, as different types of conversations? How do you think of those 3 mediums that you're involved in?
I really try my best to, you're right, the videos and books, very intimate, right? I'm talking to a friend. I really try to bring that to the stage. Sometimes it's harder than other times, but I really try to. I don't get very nervous speaking in public, but for example, before the FBI thing, I was intimidated. First of all, they were like wearing suits and stuff. Like, they definitely shower daily. And
they had to wind you down. That's a little aggressive.
Oh my gosh. They did such a huge background check on me. It was crazy. It was actually insane.
You're like, I might not pass, but I would still like to speak at your event.
Yes. And they have guns and stuff. Like, it's
sure.
It's
typical event.
It's scary.
Typical
yes.
Event.
Very, yes. So I just remember feeling like nervous, and I wasn't used to that. I just, there's a lot of things in life that make me nervous, but I've been on stage enough. It just doesn't make me nervous, but I was nervous. And I just remember before I went on stage, sort of picturing who was in the audience, and instead of picturing the FBI, just picturing, someone I know who's struggling, who has a really stressful job, 9 to 5. And maybe it's a big job, like FBI, whatever. But then they go home and their marriage is still struggling, or they still have a kid who's struggling, or motherhood is exhausting. They won't get much sleep because their baby's, just sort of the humanity of it all, right?
Yes.
And that immediately made me sort of go, okay, I can just talk to them as if it is an intimate conversation between one struggling human and another. So that's when it really became apparent that that's what I normally do. I didn't even realize that that's how I normally speak until I got to a point where I felt like I couldn't speak to them as a friend.
Yes.
But
do you feel like you were able to do that with that FBI group?
Yeah, I don't think I would have if I didn't give myself that sort of like little thing right before I went on stage. But and even I would say the first 5 minutes of the speech, I was they're just very serious looking people.
For sure.
Like they're very serious looking people. Plus there's a lot going on right now in the country. So I'm sure they're under extra stress. This just happened, by the way.
At the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. This just happened last month.
Oh, shoot.
Wow.
This is very recent. So it was like the height of everything happening.
Okay. Yeah.
And so first 5 minutes I was still, and then I don't know, I was able to sort of tap into that humanity. And I think that's the thing is like, depending on where we're speaking, what the name of the organization is or how popular it is or who the attendees are, like we allow it to intimidate us when really, when you break it down, even the most powerful people in the world are still struggling with a lot of similar stuff you're struggling with, And so, and also I feel like my most successful, whether it's speeches or videos or whatever, have always been where I feel like I'm just talking to a friend. Mm-hmm. That's always sort of been like my formula for what I know will be successful. So I guess my tone doesn't really change.
Forgive me for the nerdy details, but this is the stuff I'm fascinated by. In a speech, so you're saying like, hey, I still try to keep the speech like a one-on-one conversation. Mm-hmm. Will you be intentional about even your words? So for example, in a speech, it would be real easy to say, how many of you guys or how many of y'all out there, how many of, kind of like, it's easy to use like big group language, and you'd never use big group language in a video or a book. You wouldn't say how many, it would just be how many of you, like, are you even thoughtful about kind of using like that singular pronoun so it doesn't sound like you're just glossing over the individual to speak to the whole group? Or that would be overthinking, and maybe that's something that works for me, but would kind of trip you up.
I feel like it actually ends up being a mix. So it's not that I'm not aware I'm speaking to a group of people, right? So I might say you guys or whatever, right, refer to plural. But what I try to do is, through certain storytelling or through certain things, like just really focus on either a human, or if I can't see a face, on, one part of the auditorium, right? And then just make them feel like I'm having that one-on-one, and then turn to another one with a different question or thought. So that, and I do get that a lot after, where people go, man, I felt like you were speaking directly to me. That's something really powerful, because I have sat in those speeches where I have had a really rough time in my life. And I felt, even though I was in a crowd of hundreds, I was like, dude, I feel like someone's speaking to me. That in itself, I think, is such a powerful tool as a speaker, because again, the most common human need is we all just want to feel less alone. We are all experiencing some type of loneliness at some point in our life, usually consistently to some degree, right? And so just to feel less alone in whatever we're struggling at the time is so powerful. So if you as a speaker can really make every human being feel like this was for me, he was speaking to me, that is like the ultimate. And it's life-changing. It's not just, that's not about like, oh, that's a great speech. That's like something somebody will actually take and carry. And isn't that the whole point? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's something that will get someone through the next few years maybe, or longer.
Agreed. If you were going back as you were sort of starting all of this, the videos, the books, the speaking, what advice would you give to yourself? Because inevitably there's someone out there who's kind of starting their journey. What would be maybe just one or two things you would go, hey, watch out for this, or don't overemphasize this? What would be some of that advice?
I mean, authenticity is always my number one. Like, will people judge you? Yeah. People will judge you even if you're inauthentic. People will judge you no matter what. I don't know when it was, a few months ago, somebody commented on one of my posts and said, I really don't like you. And without even thinking it through, I just responded, but what made you think I needed you to like me? And I think that's the difference. I think that's the big difference between now and 10 years ago is I needed people's approval. I needed, not everybody's, but I was one of those people, and we're all very good at this. Humans are very good at this, where I would get 100 great comments and that one negative one would really ruin my day and really make me question whether I'm funny enough or I'm smart enough or have something to offer. That kind of stuff I don't do anymore. And it's a practice. It's not something that comes naturally to not do. It's something that's taken a lot of work. But the whole idea of I am going to make myself proud. With everything I put online, I'm going to make myself proud. I'm not going to worry about impressing anybody or getting anybody to like me, or will my following grow, or will this go viral? I want to put stuff out there that will make me proud. That's it. I don't want to disappoint myself. If I could have done that from the beginning, it would have, maybe the road would have looked the same from the outside, but the inside stuff would have been so much healthier.
When you say you kind of have this discipline to not do that anymore, does that mean you try to not read any of the comments, or when there's the inevitable negative one, you have a discipline now where you're not dwelling on that?
The second part, because I don't allow, a lot of people think I have someone running my social media because there's a lot of people on there, and I don't allow anybody to touch my social media. There's occasionally I'll go Facebook Live or something, and I'll have somebody that works with me reply to comments, but they have to say, this is Kat, or this is Eric, So I really try to engage with people. So I will read, not all comments, but I'll read a lot of comments. I'll try to reply to comments. So inevitably, I've been called everything in the book. I inevitably am going to read awful comments every day. I don't know how much time we have. Can I give you a quick analogy I came up with? That's really helped. Okay. So I used to read a negative comment, and then I used to literally pick up that comment. I used to take it to bed with me, and I used to think about it all night, and I'd let it ruin my day, and I'd let it ruin my, even the way I interact with my kids, because now I'm irritated or I'm whatever, right? And then I need an analogy. So this is how I think of it. When I read a negative comment, I think of it as someone handing me a suitcase. Okay. And we're all walking around life carrying suitcases. Our own suitcases that belong to us. We got our insecurity suitcase, our long to-do list suitcase. Like, we got all these suitcases, right? Work stress, marriage stuff, childhood trauma. We got suitcases. And when somebody is throwing judgment, negativity, hatred towards me, I literally picture them handing me their suitcase and going, here, carry it. And it's a suitcase full of all the stuff that they're miserable with and unhappy with, and the choices and the circumstance in their life. And they're trying to hand it to me because they think the pain is like dodgeball. I'm going to take that ball of pain, I'm going to throw it at you, and it's out of my hands. Except we all know that's not how it works, right? And so I've started just thinking, no, thank you. I'm not a bellhop. I'm not picking up your suitcase. I used to carry everybody's suitcase. And I just decided no. And then what that led to actually was even deeper and more therapeutic, because I went, how many suitcases have I been handed in real life, maybe by people even powerful in my life when I was a kid, people I looked up to, that I'm still carrying decades later. And so all that to say, I will look at a comment, it will say something awful, and I will now it's automatic. I used to actually make myself say it out loud. I'll go, no, thank you. Like, I'm not picking up your suitcase. It's not mine. That's your baggage to deal with. Because anybody that's actually taken the time to write awful things, it's really not about me. Like I have people I genuinely can't stand on social media. I have never taken the time to go on the internet and go, I can't stand you, because that would really be more about me, right?
Yes.
So that's sort of become the practice, is the no thank you. And in fact, occasionally I will reply to somebody who writes, you're a, and I'll write, no, thank you. And it's completely confusing to them. It's a beautiful thing.
They're just
like, what do you mean, no, thank you? I just called you a fat, ugly, stupid pig. I'm like,
that's right.
That's all I have to say about that. Just
you should just start, unsubscribe. No, thank you.
Yeah. So just having that visual for a year, I don't know when I came up with that, like 6-7 years ago, of literally someone handing me a suitcase of their crap and going, here, you carry it. Now it's just become an automatic thing. I'll read something bad and I'll go, nah, I'm not picking up that suitcase. Moving on. So I think it's one of those things you have to practice, and then eventually your brain just goes there.
Super healthy boundary. Absolutely.
You want to say
fantastic.
something to me, Josh, right now, so I can not pick it up?
Oh, man, that's what the
We're
next half
good.
hour is about.
No, we're good. Listen, I got it all out there already. We're fine.
Oh, good.
We are fine.
I'm free of suitcases, as you can see.
As you should be. Well done.
That's great.
Well, Kristina, this has been awesome. Thank you for sharing your journey, your insights, your candor, and all that you're doing. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I think folks who are in this journey as well are going to be really inspired by your story and your insights.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I hope that you and I end up speaking at a same gig soon.
I know. Well, typically
Maybe
when
at
they
the
have
FBI.
us, listen.
CIA.
Oh, yes, that's next.
I don't know. Typically when you and I both get booked at an event, it's like I speak Friday, you speak Sunday, or vice versa, and then
And they don't trust us together. They think that we're gonna cause too much trouble.
No, there is all that history we have with the other law enforcement and the situations.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. We can't talk about that publicly.
Probably wise. Yeah. Well, thanks for the chat. Great to see you. This
Thanks,
is going to be
Kristina,
awesome.
so much.
Folks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.